James Williams, Director of Programme. So that was our session on sustainability. So thank you to Gerrit for moderating that. Now, you join me for an Infobip sponsored session. Infobip have kindly sponsored multiple sessions during this event. And this session is about a topic I really like. And it's SMS, because where would a wholesale event be if we didn't touch upon the topic of application to person SMS? So A2P SMS, business to consumer SMS, business to business SMS, government to citizen SMS, whatever you want to call it, whatever flavor of SMS, it's alive and kicking. It's going to be celebrating its 30th birthday this December. And joining me now, who'll be moderating the topic, is Mr. Andreas Constantinides. Andreas, you're on mute. You're doing my usual trick.
Yes. I just, I'm on mute now. Hello, James. Nice to be here.
Hello, Andreas. A very warm welcome to the show. So this topic is something I know you know rather well, and I know you know the speakers very well. So I will just let you get on with it and hand over to you straight away. We have been overrunning a few minutes. We are not taking any time away from you. So you have your full 40 minutes and just go for it. And thank you.
That's perfect. Thanks. So the other people that are going to join, because I can see only myself here. Okay, that's great. Everybody's here. Hello, guys. Hello, guys. Nice
Hi, everybody.
to see you all.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
So, thank you very much, James, for the introduction. Let's go to the presentation in order to inform the audience what we're going to talk about today. So today we are going to have a very, very interesting panel concerning rich messaging, and it's sponsored by Infobip. Thank you very much, Infobip, for this. And we'll have some marvelous guests in order to share their opinion and their experience, or their trends, or their insights with us. I would like to welcome Eamonn Dullaghan, Head of Wholesale Europe at Infobip. Hello, Eamonn.
Hi, Andreas. How are you? Nice to see you.
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to welcome Sham Careem, Telecoms Business Solution Consultant. Hello, Sham. Eamonn and Sham are going to have a speech, a very interesting speech. I have seen the presentation and I can assure you that it's really great. Aleksey, Danchenko, co-founder at Stipo and Reteno. Hello, Aleksey.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here.
And last but not least, Mrs. Limor Bailey, Partnership Account Director, Rakuten Fiber. Shalom lecha, ma shlomech.
Shalom to everybody. Nice to be in this conversation.
Great. We are very happy to have you here. I personally have a very, very strong connection with Viber because I'm originally from Greece. So we were the first country that we started having business messaging. And I remember 2017, we were talking in Germany about this and nobody believed us. So we have something to say. But I'm going to jump to the conversation because I don't want to spend your time with my stories. I will ask Eamonn or Sham to start. Who is going to start the presentation? Eamonn, I suppose.
Yeah, I'll start. Let me see if I can just share this.
I would like to ask the administrator to give the right to Eamonn's presentation.
Okay, thank you, Andreas. As you can see, the title of this panel discussion today is Wholesale SMS Scale and Differentiation. I'm just going to kick off the conversation by focusing for a few minutes on the scale aspect of this, and then I'll hand over to Sham, who will go into a little bit more detail on the differentiation. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start off with three numbers I wanted to present to you. The first one is 8 billion. A recent report by the UN have very precisely forecast that by middle of November this year, the global population will reach 8 billion for the first time. So this is a billion more than it was about a decade ago, and it will be another billion in another decade, around 2030 or so. Now, the reason I share this figure is really just to give some context to my next number, which is 6.6 billion. and that is the number of smartphone users there are around the world in 2022. So within that number, there will be many users who have multiple devices. Now, so if we take a conservative estimate, we can probably say that around half or more than half of the world's population are now smartphone users. Now, the good news for all of us is in the next number, which means that they're all using these smartphone devices still for the purposes of receiving A2P SMS. Around 1.6 trillion is the estimated volume of A2P SMS that is sent globally every year. Now, while other channels are starting to develop, none of them have got the scale of SMS as we speak at this moment in time, which shows really that why SMS remains the dominant channel currently for business messaging. Now, we'll hear later on about how Viber and other channels are starting to make inroads into SMS and starting to evolve or help the business messaging industry evolve. But for now, SMS still remains the dominant channel, and really for good reason. If you look at some of the key stats here, 98% open rate, 95% of messages are viewed within 3 minutes of receipt. On average, it takes 90 seconds for a person to respond to a text. And recent research by Digital Marketing Magazine suggests that 75% of consumers are very open to receiving marketing offers via text. So what does this all mean for wholesale? Well, here at Infobip, we view the wholesale channel as critical to the continued development of the business messaging industry. The global scale and global feature and characteristics of the industry as a whole are very much reflected in our organization, where we're focused on wholesale channels across 7 distinct regions, as you can see here, from North America right through to APAC. And our extensive network means that any wholesale customer can send a message to any subscriber, regardless of the location of the wholesale customer or the location of the subscriber. The type and number of wholesale customers is also evolving. Traditionally, we're all very familiar with the aggregators, who are very committed in terms of developing and growing the SMS business right from its very beginning, the A2P business. And we're all very familiar with aggregators, and I'm sure many people on this call here or on this event are involved in the aggregation business. We also have resellers who tend to focus very much on the small and medium business market. We've also in recent years seen a growth in CPaaS providers who generally serve a specific market segment or vertical, and if anything, they're the customers, the wholesale customers, that are starting to introduce alternative channels to SMS. And then finally, we have the operators themselves, who tend to use other wholesale partners, aggregators, to extend their reach beyond their traditional footprint. As wholesale SMS and business messaging industry has grown generally, the ecosystem has delivered and enjoyed many benefits of scale. The 3 principal ones I've identified here, first one being price stability. Now, there have been recent sort of local fluctuations and turbulence in pricing in selected markets in recent months, but generally speaking, over the longer term, I think we can safely say that there has been price stabilization in the industry, which has really helped everybody in the ecosystem with their business planning. The second area is in efficiency. As with any industry, as it grows and develops scale, economies of scale kick in. And in our industry, we've seen that in terms of selling, customer onboarding, customer care, invoicing, billing, etc. There have been process improvements right across the board and across the customer lifecycle. And the third area is in the area of expertise. I think it's fair to say that there are now sort of thousands of people across the globe who can now consider themselves to be expert in the area of SMS and business messaging. And what's important is that we now leverage all of the benefits that we've developed as an industry over the years. to create the next chapter and build the next chapter as this market it develops. The biggest challenge now we've got is how do we address the challenge of differentiation as customer expectations increase and competitive intensity increases for all of those enterprise and business customers. And to talk us through some ideas about how we can address that challenge of differentiation, I'll now hand you over to my colleague Sham, who will take the presentation on from here. Over to you, Sham.
Thank you. Do you want to run the slides, Eamonn? Is that okay?
I'm quite happy to run the slides, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so guys, welcome. Thank you for joining. As Eamonn said, I'm going to talk to you about differentiation. And what we mean when we talk about differentiation here is our assumption is that a lot of you out there are SMS aggregators, SMS wholesalers, SMS partners delivering SMS to your own channels and directly to brands and enterprises around the world. And as Eamonn mentioned, SMS is an incredible communication channel. It's for years I've been hearing about the oncoming death of SMS, right? And yet year on year we still see continued growth. And if any of you are aware of one of our colleagues, Nick Lane in Mobile Squared, you'll see that he's predicting A2P SMS will continue to grow over the next 4 or 5 years, which is great news for us all. But what we're seeing is other opportunities for us to address communication services over and above SMS. So we know that SMS is great for delivering certain use cases for customers. And what we want to be able to do is say, well, look, if we're serving communication services to those customers, as a wholesaler, what else can we start delivering to that customer base? And that's where we want to start talking about rich messaging. Now, Eamonn, we seem to have lost the deck. I don't know if you've stopped sharing. If so, I can switch over to mine.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry about that. Do you want to switch? Sorry, Sham, we seem to have lost it.
No problem. Can you guys see my screen?
Not yet.
No, not yet. You have to go full screen, Sam.
Okay.
Well, these things happen when we're live, you know. Always something is going to break for a reason, but it's okay. So Sam, don't stress yourself. Just find the button, press it. You're gonna be happy.
I will find it shortly. Okay, we're just uploading. So whilst we're waiting for that to upload, let me start by explaining what the business priorities are that we see from customers in the marketplace. So what we're seeing in general is that everyone is talking about growth, is talking about digital transformation, and is talking about customer experience. And those three things, I think you can see my screen now, right? You can see my slide.
You can go full screen.
Perfect. Thank you. So everyone is talking about these three areas: growth, digital innovation, and customer relationships. And how are we helping our customers as wholesalers? How are we helping our customers to meet these goals? When you think about communication via the mobile channel, most people will think, of SMS, number one. Number two, they'll think about application. So if you want to engage as a brand, if you want to engage with your customer, you're probably doing it via applications. But apps are really not meeting those needs for a number of reasons, okay? They're predominantly only 5 apps are used 85% of the time, and they tend to be social media apps. Around half of people don't actually download any new apps in any given month. And where they do, the usage tends to be relatively low. So relying on applications as a primary tool to engage with your customer throughout that customer life cycle on a mobile device is probably not the optimum way to do things. This is where rich mobile messaging can. So here we're looking at some research that we did at Infobip with over 3,000 customers around the world. And what's really interesting here is a number of things. Firstly, we see that SMS is strong. SMS is a promotional channel that customers prefer. What we also see is that whilst email is strong, it is declining as you go down through the age groups. And what's also happening in those age groups is that we're seeing more interest and more preference around things like mobile app chat, around chat apps of choice, around live chat, and so on. So what we can take from this is that people do want to use their mobile devices to communicate with brands, and more and more in those younger age groups. So the 18 to 29s and the 30 to 39s are really starting to show preferences for this. And what this is telling us is that it's opening up the space to engage with these customers in a rich way. And I'll explain what I mean by rich now. So if you look at SMS today, SMS is relatively basic. And I'm sorry, the animation hasn't worked on here. What you're supposed to be seeing on this slide is an RCS message. So what you're seeing here is SMS, but with RCS, you have verified sender, you have branding, you have rich media assets that you are able to send within the RCS message. You have suggested actions and suggested replies. So basically what you have is a very, very rich experience via the mobile channel. And that's absolutely critical here, because what we're talking about is a completely different use case, where here what you're seeing on the screen is SMS, and you're able to send a limited amount of information. With RCS, you can deliver a full experience. And so here you can see on the screen some examples of RCS. So what we do know is that, as Eamonn said, whilst SMS is a fantastic tool for basic communication, when we want to engage the customer more, RCS has proven to be much more effective. So here you're looking at 60 to 150% higher response rates than SMS or email, up to 130% higher engagement rates, 20 to 40% higher conversion rates. And to be honest, we're starting to see more case studies that are even more powerful than this. I'm going to show you something around Orange here, which is really quite stunning. So what we're looking at here is sales results of RCS versus SMS and email campaigns, where Orange Spain were looking to sell Samsung S22 devices. And without going into too much detail, what you see down here at the bottom is that RCS delivered a 17% interaction rate against 5% for email. And most importantly, when you look at sales that were derived from the campaigns, RCS delivered 6% sales compared to 0.15% for SMS and 0.59% for email. So when you combine that with the next slide, which talks about ROI, you start to see that there is a very, very significant opportunity for brands to engage with RCS and rich messaging. So here we're looking at ROI. This is a piece of research coming from Mobile Squared again. And what you can see, the difference between RCS today and RCS tomorrow is simply that today there is to a certain extent a first mover advantage. So what you're seeing is early adopters and the fact that it's a new medium means that there's more interest, that customers are finding it innovative and more likely to engage. So RCS tomorrow takes that into account and assumes that now this is a business as usual channel, but still you are seeing huge multiples of ROI compared to existing SMS and email channels. Again, I want to make the point here, this doesn't mean that we are saying that SMS is not effective and useful. SMS will continue to grow, but we have an opportunity here to tap into other areas of spend. So areas like, for example, app spend, areas like online advertising spend, areas like call center costs for customer service. This is where we see the campaigns and the revenue coming from rich messaging. So having said all that, the opportunity is there, and it's but it's been there for a while. RCS has been around for a while for those of us who've been around the industry. So understanding that it's been there for a while and understanding the use cases that I've just showed you and how effective it is, it does lead to a very obvious question. Why has RCS not taken over the world, right? Why are we not seeing absolutely huge numbers around RCS in the messaging space? And the very simple answer is that there are some friction points that we need to deal with. So the biggest one is coverage and reach. RCS is a single channel which on average reaches 20 to 30% in each territory. Secondly, there's complexity. So when we're talking to the market, we're talking about different channels. So Infobip or mobile operators or anyone else may be talking about RCS. Lemur here, who's going to speak to you later, will be talking about Viber. Meta will be talking about WhatsApp. Somebody else will be talking about another channel. That's creating complexity in the market. And finally, there's pricing complexity for the same reasons that I've just discussed. So our view at Infobip is that we need to simplify this ecosystem. We want to say, hello, meet mobile rich messaging across all the channels. So when we're talking to the market, as a wholesaler, when you're talking to your customers, you don't need to be, in our opinion, talking about individual channels. What you need to be talking about is rich messaging, which can reach 98% of subscribers across all devices, including iOS, natively and also via apps such as Viber and WhatsApp. And the key message here is that we deliver rich experiences for brands looking for new ways to engage and interact with their customers. So irrespective of the underlying channel, you can give a consistent, rich message experience to 98% of brands and enterprises.
Sam, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You have to sum up because we have only 10 minutes left and we have so many things to discuss. Because we spent about 30 minutes with the presentation, which is 10 minits more than we were talking about. So can you please sum up?
Yeah, I can sum up in 10 seconds, very, very simply. So rich messaging is a combination of all the channels, and we want to be talking to the market about being able to reach 98% of your subscribers with that rich messaging.
That's great. That's great. Thank you very much, Sam. It was a little bit longer than we were expecting, but it's okay. We can go to the conversation. There's so many things that we can say. I suppose that, and I saw that you talked a lot about RCS. RCS we can consider it as SMS version 2 in order for all of us to be happy. However, it's still really very slow. We're waiting. I used to have hair in my head when I heard about RCS first time. and I'm just about to die. You know, it takes ages to happen. But anyway, that's why, you know, I personally, I prefer more channels, other channels that they're disruptive and they go just like this, TikTok, Viber, WhatsApp, you know, fast movers. But anyway, I want to start the conversation and I want to ask you guys, do you think that the industry is ready for the rich messaging in general? And this differentiation thing that we discussed is really very interesting because, you know, some countries will have Viber, some other countries will have WhatsApp, you know, it depends. But are we ready to have it? I mean, are the operators ready? Are the aggregators ready? I'm gonna start with Eamonn to give to ladies first.
Thank you. So to answer your question very simply, yes, yes, and yes. Everybody is obviously waiting for this, and I think the most important, people that are waiting are definitely the businesses and definitely the end users. From Viber's perspective, we already have rich messaging, and we have had rich messaging for quite a few years now. That has been working on our platform. We are obviously spread all over the world. We have a very strong presence in certain geos, obviously in Greece, as you mentioned when you were speaking with us a couple of years back. We have obviously an advanced suite of different types of business solutions, and we can get a little bit more into that, but we have the rich messaging, which is fantastic, especially all of our communication and our sessions, which we are really seeing a huge boom after the coronavirus, with everybody being stuck at home and with a lot of brands and businesses, and especially the end users wanting to communicate. Clients are looking for a one-on-one communication. They don't want to receive a simple message anymore. They want to be able to discuss and, be able to get through what they want, to have a conversation with the business. And it's extremely relevant for the businesses to understand the feedback from their clients and from their end users as to what they want. So we've seen a massive boost in that, and this is definitely something that we have been working with and that we've been pushing from our side and that we truly believe in.
Eamonn, let me tell you something. Just because you are the first media that started with the rich messaging, so you have the crown, at least from me, okay? Not you specifically, but what is new? What is new? Talk about Viber. What's new? What we're going to see? Are we going to see payments? Are we going to see what? What is going to be the next step?
There's a lot of next steps, and definitely, yes, we're going to have a lot of things on the books. Firstly, we're going to have brands that are able to send video messages. As you mentioned, there's a lot of TikTok, there's a lot of young users, that Sam mentioned, and we all know that businesses want to communicate in the most effective way. So we are now allowing businesses to engage more with their clients in selling creative and useful content by utilizing videos, which is great. File sharing, restaurants, when you book on TripAdvisor going overseas, plane tickets, it's great when you guys want to be able to share a file or share a receipt. It's something that a lot of clients are looking for. A lot of additional things also, maybe to be more specific, pictures, and people are able to share videos and documentation. All of this comes into the effect of the rich messaging that clients want to be able to just not receive a one-way message or receive, a traditional text. They want to be able to send through, communicate, send a message, send a video, be able to take a picture of the jeans that they bought online that doesn't fit them and show it back to the customer. So we're developing all of this. We're listening to what the brands and the clients are looking for, and there's a lot more to come in the future.
Great. Nice to hear. Thank you, Eamonn. So I'm going to Aleksey now. I'm going to change a little bit the order, guys. Aleksey, I would like to ask you about omni-messaging platforms and what's happening in this, because, in order to be all of this rich messaging to be transmitted, you need to have the tools. So how can omni-messaging providers improve enterprise communication with consumers? And which are the results, if you have results or tools or statistics to tell us about it? But I know that you are dealing with the platform, so you are the best person here in order to give us some hot stuff.
Thank you, Andreas. I do feel like rich messaging grows rapidly. Just a nice number for Eamonn. Throughout 2021 in Ukraine, on our platform, the amount of messages sent via Viber grew 17 times. So it's like huge numbers, very impressive for us as well. And for us as a customer data platform, we think the main value that brands can get from rich messaging is providing not just another type of SMS or more engaging visually message, but also the messaging that is based also on customer interests and behavior to make it relevant and resonating to his needs and eventually bringing value. I know that Sham's presentation didn't work out, but Viber is, like I said, very popular in Ukraine. Right here I have a message from a brand, and this is a similar type of messages that we help businesses to send out daily. And when we build communications for retailers and e-commerce, we have several behavior-based communications that work the best for and drive value. Among them are well-known abandoned carts and abandoned views types of messaging when people started checking out and didn't finish. So we help to bring them to checkout process via Viber. But what's important here, also another important number in general for rich messaging. I guess a year ago we saw that for e-commerce brands that are massively relying on email regularly, and we saw it in Eamonn's presentation that email is still having like 53% as a preferred channel for many customers. We saw that in driving revenues for some companies, rich messaging became #1 channel, even exceeding emails. And this is because the new generations that pick the channels that are better for them, that are more convenient, they are less tend to use emails in their everyday life and messaging with friends, but they want to have brands as close as friends, to have them in the same spot. Sometimes it's just causes problems to brands that cannot adopt, and that is why omnichannel platforms like ours exist and help to build communication in the same logic, in the same relevant way, independently to whatever channel you prefer. So we do like working with Infobip here and having Viber as #1 and #2 channel for e-commerce. It's super cool that it has a lot of rich features like buttons, images, videos, and we are adapting to this new conversational way of making communication with customers, which is also important. Just a few numbers from our customers. So helping to segment and focus on most interested in purchasing products audience, adding Viber messaging to this hot audience, we managed to improve sales numbers in 2.5 times, and whilst reducing the budget twice. So meaning that we managed to increase ROI 5 times just because we added Viber to people who were predicted are most likely to purchase. Another nice example is for companies like Sham Ukraine and Metro Cash and Carry. I think they're quite popular in Europe as well, and in Greece, for instance. So it will be something resonating to you. 20% of all direct channels-driven revenues for those brands were generated by rich messaging and workflows that included rich messaging, which is huge. So you can easily uplift the 20% extra revenues just adding these types of communications to your workflows that you already employ with emails or text messaging.
I see. Thank you. Thank you very much, Alex. I would like to mention here for the audience that it's really very important to understand. We're talking now about Viber, because Viber has significant presence in Balkan, in Russia, some Asia. If we were talking about Latin America or USA, then we're talking about WhatsApp, because this is the most important thing about differentiation. You know, every new OTT messenger, it has his own audience. It's not like the SMS that goes everywhere. You know, if we're talking about, I don't know, other countries, we can see Messenger, we can see Zalo, or WeChat, or whatever. Anyway, that's why all of the examples was with Viber today. But it's okay, we're happy to do that. I have 2 questions, but only 2 minutes. That means I'm going to address a question to Sham and Eamonn, and I want them to be really, really very fast, because the guys, they are really very fluent speakers, and we'd love to hear them, but we don't have the time. So, Sham and Eamonn, when it comes to enterprise messaging, how does Infobip contribute to the new trends? What is the breakthrough thing that Infobip does? 30 seconds each. Eamonn, you can start.
Okay, so if I just refer back to my presentation where I talked about our wholesale channel, so we're set up, we're ready to sell all of our products and services to our wholesale channels. Traditionally, up until now, it's been predominantly SMS for business messaging, but we do have access to all of the rich messaging products, including Viber. And Alex has just given a great example of one of our wholesale clients who's actively out there selling Viber and making some great numbers. So we're here to support all of our wholesale clients in selling other rich messaging channels to their clients as well as SMS.
Okay, thank you, Eamonn. Sham?
What Eamonn said, really, and you know, with the one addition that I would say is, look, just understand this can be really simple. The message to your brand is we can deliver a rich experience that will give you a much better ROI to 98% of your devices. That's the key message I want people to take away today. And then Infobip will solve the complexity for you of whether it's Viber, WhatsApp, RCS, whatever else. There you go. That short and sweet enough for you, Andreas?
Pardon me? Sorry?
Was that short and sweet enough for you?
Yes, it was very short. Thank you very much. And as you can see, the bell rang, so we're about to finish. But we're going to take 2 more minutes from the other people, from Nick Lane, he is around, because I have a question from the audience, and I would really love to address this. It's about RCS and GDPR. And the question from Morten Andersen is that as a European company, these are some challenging with RCS and other OTTs terms in terms of GDPR. How do we see this challenge? Do you think that we are going to have, let's say, in Europe at least, a law about to make the things easier with the GDPR concerning these issues? I don't know who wants to reply to this. Anyone? Okay, Alex?
I think it's quite obvious that you just have to stick to GDPR rules, and consented messaging is #1 rule for anyone who does marketing. And for some cases, you certainly can have kind of imply that people agreed to receiving messaging for instance, for customer service. But in general, we got used to GDPR already. We know as a marketers the tricks that have, not tricks actually, like processes that have to be followed to have a normal way of communication, having consent from a customer. When you bring them value and get their consent, providing them value in follows, they will certainly be happy to have more updates from you.
You know, sometimes it's not so clear, the whole thing with the GDPR. Anyway, my personal point of view is that the GDPR that started about 4 or 5 years ago in Europe, I used to call it version 1, so I suppose that's going to be version 2 very soon, because it seems that there is some obstacles with this and the spam still going. Anyway, I hope that Morten Andersen is having the answer. If not, we have to wait a little bit more for the European Parliament to decide. The last thing that I want to have one word from you guys, it's what is the piece of advice you can give to business messaging providers, aggregators, operators, whatever, for the business development of the rich messaging? Just one word. Alex.
Customer data. Use it.
Customer data research, you mean? Because customer data, it sounds like not so GDPR, you know?
So on the contrary, if it's a first-party data, it's fine to use it.
Okay, good. Limor?
Follow the trend, speak with your clients, have communications and conversations.
Okay, good, thank you. Eamonn?
Start. I would say just make a start, get that first customer, first use case, first segment, whatever. Just make a start and learn from there.
Very, very effective, Eamonn, I have to say. Sham?
Simplicity. Keep it simple.
Great, that's great. So if I have to say something, I would like to say more training, because the market must be trained, the stakeholder must be trained about the new messages, the new media, the whole thing that changes every day. So we have to be fast, we have to be aware. And also, I suppose that the big players, Viber, WhatsApp, the big operators, the big aggregators, they need to spend some time in order to train the industry, because we are struggling to train them. But the changes are massive and it happens all the time and it's not so easy. So guys, thank you very much for this marvelous discussion. It was a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you, Sham and Eamonn, for sponsoring and for your marvelous speech. Thank you, Alex, for being here with us. I'm going to check a little bit more about this Sputnik, because I'm really very curious to see what you are and what do you do. I checked some things the other day, but I have to make it to do it better.
I'll be happy to do it personalized demo.
Good. I'm going to contact you for sure. Limor, it was great to see you. And I hope that I'm going to see you next week, guys, in Madrid, most of you, I suppose. Thank you very much. Thank you for the audience as well. And it was a great ride. So I'm going to give the microphone back to the administrator and have a nice evening.
Thanks, Andreas.
Thank you.